What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Wrestling Junkies podcast. I'm Eric, Mr. Cincinnati Robinson, and conspicuous by his absence is the podcast dad, Chris Hoops. He decided that he would rather go to a concert than hang out with me on a Wednesday night. So he is not available, so I had to call in some backup, and there was really nobody I could think of that would be better. It's been a minute since he's been on the show, but let's give it up for the Frat Daddy, Bryce Cannon. Bryce, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Second best, I take it. Second best. Yeah, not much. Got Dynamite playing in the background just in case anything pops off. They've already started off the show with the pretty big bang there. I would have thought they would have kind of drug it out a little bit just to gain viewership and things like that. But way to start the show off.
Yeah, seriously. So Mercedes Monet is officially all elite after months of speculation and just general rumor mill churning like it does in the wrestling industry. But yeah, we've kind of seen this from AEW before as far as the debuts. CM Punk, when they were in Chicago, kicked off the show. Right with him. I don't know. I wonder what the thought process is with that, just because, like you said, try to get a number out of it at 9 o'clock hour, or 9:45, to kind of give that your main segment, set up our next program. But no, they seem to like this approach, and I don't necessarily mind it. I think that it keeps the crowd from kind of taking, hijacking essentially the entire show, waiting for that segment, because at this point, the fact that this has been teased for months now, it's kind of just let's get this out of the way, and let's go ahead and state the obvious.
Right. Yeah. I mean, hey, they're a multi-million-dollar company, so they know exactly what they're doing, what strings they're pulling, and what gets their viewership going. So, it's definitely not like a WWE move because they typically save Bloodline, Rock, and everything like that for their main event spot. So, you know, who knows the thinking? It's pro wrestling.
Yeah,
It,
dude, but that's it's the best business in the world.
that's what they say.
Anyway, before we get into tonight's show in full, make sure to hit that QR code in the top left corner. Like, share, subscribe. If you know one person that would enjoy this podcast, share it with them. We'd like to think that we're some pretty laid back guys here, and we try not to buy into the tribalism BS that comes in the IWC here. So, we're gonna give some love to AEW. We're gonna give some love to WWE, but where the criticism's warranted, we're gonna give that too, in a constructive manner. So, while you're at it, make sure to buy a T-shirt, buy a hoodie, mug, something. There you go. We got some new designs on the way as well, and make sure to follow the Main Event Network, Main Event _net, across all social media platforms. Lots of great content coming out if you like blogs, fan art, things of that nature. So let's get right on into this. We've got Kyle from the On the Mark podcast already in the chats. Appreciate that. Very similar to the Punk debut. Yeah, I mean, if it's their hometown, you kind of know that this is going to happen. The last one, Deonna Purrazzo, yeah, that was in New Jersey, but there was really no indication that she was going to be coming to AEW. So that element of surprise works there, but I think with major names, it's probably best to just go ahead and pull a Band-Aid off.
Yeah, I mean they pretty much ripped that band-aid by naming this event.
Yeah.
So I mean using the dollar signs and things like that, dead giveaway, especially for the town. I mean, nothing wrong with it. I mean, hey, it
Yeah.
gives people something to look forward to, and it makes sure that people tune into your product because it's something they're actually going to look forward to. So,
Yeah. As I'm watching what's going on the show behind you on your TV, I see a belt in the corner there. Which belt we got back there, bud?
that is our illustrious Southern Honor Wrestling tag titles there.
Love it.
We we are the Southern Honor Wrestling Tag Team Champions, no matter what anybody in Georgia says at this moment. They're saying that there's controversy behind it. I don't see it. We beat like 4 other teams in the same match for it. So you can go check it out on IWTV.
There you go. And if you need a lawyer to fix that, let me know.
Dude, I mean, I think it's about to get to that point, to be quite honest.
Hey, it wouldn't be the first time. So, yeah, before we get into talking about NXT, this is the first time that you've been on the show since we came down to see you at Lariata Pro a couple of weeks ago. First time meeting the Wrestling Junkies face to face, and this was a hell of a match, man. You tore the fucking house down.
Yeah, I hated that we went on first because I
Yeah.
actually had people traveling from South Carolina who got there and didn't actually get to see the match because we
Ah,
were
damn.
on first. But when you wrestle a big name like Matt Cardona, you can expect for him to pull some strings and
Yeah.
cry his way to the first match instead of a main event spot where I belong. But to each their own. I showed him who was boss, whose house he was
Yeah.
in. Beat the indie god. So, and I put it on Twitter, and he called me a thief. But I
Yeah.
think that makes me the number one contender for the internet championship, if you ask me.
I mean, that's kind. I mean, that's how AEW does their eliminator matches. Yeah, you beat the champ, you get a shot. WWE does the same
Right.
thing. So it's that's just. I mean, we try not to bring out logic too much here on this podcast because it's wrestling, but I think I'm willing to make an exception here.
Well, I put it out there for Matt Cardona, and he just called me a thief. So,
It's fine. It's
uh,
fine. You're living up there
t-
rent free. That's all it is.
right.
All right, so let's talk some NXT, man. So before we came on live here, you had a thought on the NXT Tag Team Championships. They're building towards a match at Stand and Deliver, and there's been a new team that has shown up in recent weeks of Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, the Club. So how you feeling about the future of these titles and the Good Brothers being on the black and gold brand?
I like it. It gives those tag teams, especially with me like being in tag team wrestling a lot. It gives those guys down in NXT a tag team that they can learn from. Whether they become the tag team champions or not, which let's be honest, I hope they do,
Yeah.
because they deserve it more than anyone, especially not really getting much after getting re-signed.
You just don't want to
Um,
hear Gallows say anything if you say anything opposite. So
Right, right. Well, I mean, no, no. I mean, I'm a Gallows guy through and through, but no, I mean, like literally, like we got to work them whenever they were running on the Indies. Me, Zach, and Peps were in a 6-man with Gallows, Anderson, and a local guy, Mac Davis, and just seeing how they like work around a match and just work the crowd and things like that. It's just something that you can learn from. So I imagine those guys down in NXT are going to do the same thing and just soak up the knowledge that these two have. I mean, they're when you think about it, I mean, they're Japanese legends. I mean,
yeah,
and I feel like us in America, we take advantage of that with everything that they've done, especially Carl Anderson. That man is a probably first ballot Hall of Famer in Japanese wrestling, if you ask me,
yep,
with everything he's done. But yeah, I mean, it's too sweet all the way to those NXT Tag Team Championships. Braun Breaker,
yeah.
Baron Corbin, get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, and especially with Braun Breaker being called up to SmackDown. I mean, we're starting to see a different trend here when it comes to the call ups. Used to be basically you could set your calendar to them after WrestleMania or after any Big
Right.
Four pay-per-view, but now it's just kind of it's going to happen when it's going to happen. And even when it does happen, you're starting to see them still float back and forth. Um, at this point, let me just ask you, what do you see for Braun Breaker on SmackDown? And then I got a follow up for you after that.
As far as Braun on SmackDown, I mean, Triple H knows what he's doing when it comes to the booking. I mean, we're seeing the modern day Goldberg being built. The only thing that I see hurting that would be a loss of the NXT tag titles, which has to happen in order for him to fully let go of NXT and go to the main roster. Granted, he doesn't have to take the pin. I understand that, but at the same time, it's a loss when you're trying to build him up on the main roster type deal.
Yeah,
Unless he just blatantly walks up, walks out on Baron, he's his own thing. But to be honest, I haven't really watched much of SmackDown when Braun is
sure.
on there, so I'm not sure if he's heel or face or which direction, if they are even pointing in one right now with him. I could
Yeah.
see it in a heel route of him walking out on Corbin, letting Corbin take the finish, whatever. Braun's not there, that wipes him out there. But as far as like taking a loss for those NXT tag titles, especially if it's a clean loss, it just kind of ruins the Goldberg esque style that they're trying to push him at on SmackDown.
Yeah, they've presented him relatively as a face over the last few weeks, just because he's been on screen with Jade Cargill as well as she's kind of sorting out what's next for her on the main roster as well. But Yeah, I mean, I think that if they do lose the tag team titles, it's Stand and Deliver. Has to be Baron Corbin that takes the pin here. It, this was, I think the move back to NXT was good for him. I think it's been good enough that you have to ask yourself whether he should be called back up to the main roster to see if there's anything they can do with him. But I wouldn't be upset if they just kept him there. Again, another one of those veteran guys that people can learn from, and it's an easier roster to run through. I mean, both Raw and SmackDown are stacked right now. Are we really going to see him win an Intercontinental title off of Gunther, or win the U.S. title from Logan Paul? It seems like there's bigger plans there involving AJ Styles, LA Knight, Randy Orton, Kevin Owens. It's just another place for him to get lost back in the shuffle. But with NXT right now, yes, it's a developmental territory, but the veteran presence also gives it some of that main roster credibility.
Yeah, and I mean, no shortage to NXT there. I mean, they've got a stacked roster right now as well. I
Yeah,
mean, WWE is must watch again, in my opinion.
yeah,
I find myself slowly when I'm watching it turning into that fan again. Like, holy crap, I'm invested into wrestling again, versus just all right, I'm gonna go take these bookings, not even watch wrestling on the week,
yeah,
unless it's Peacock that I'm watching from '97 or something like that. Like, and that's what I was doing for
yeah,
a while. I was never watching like up to date product. But here lately, I mean, it's just been like everything that they're doing, like from the Bloodline story with Cody to Candice LeRae talking to Maxine Dupree the way she was, like that stuff is like crazy.
yeah,
It's like stuff you don't see anymore. And for WWE to be bringing that stuff back, it's like, okay, if this is gonna, I mean, no knock to women's matches, but if this is gonna be said during a women's match, what's gonna be said during this match at 8:25?
yeah,
In this time slot where people kind of, yeah, they're watching it, but they're really not. Like, it's that match right after a long promo typically. Um,
yeah.
it's just you have to pay attention to everything, and I think it's safe to say the same thing with NXT. I mean, if you're not watching NXT, you're making a mistake as well.
Yeah, and I mean, NXT 2.0 was not great, and I think that's the nicest way that
Right.
I can say it. I mean, but now it just feels like everything that they're trying is new. It's fresh. The regime change has helped greatly in what it is that we're seeing. I mean, another part of NXT last night were a couple of pre-tape segments involving the D'Angelo family and Ilya Dragunov. They added Luca Crucifino to the crew, which this is, I don't know. I don't know why I didn't think about this sooner, that this would be a great fit for him, because he is essentially the lawyer gimmick and now
Mhm.
playing the consigliere. It's a nice touch, and it's another heavy that D'Angelo can transition into the singles ranks, and you can keep Stacks and Crucifino as a tag team. Stacks already
Mhm.
has the tag team experience, tag team title run under his belt, brings Luca along, who basically was just working level up prior to the breakout tournament this year.
Right. Yeah. And funny story here, not to put myself over and name
Yeah,
drop,
it's
but
all good.
old Stacks Channing there, about 4 or 5 years ago, when I first started, he was actually at a Southern Honor show, and he was just kind of doing extra work for them because Southern Honor was like the big show that everybody was trying to get on,
Yeah,
and so they were doing like a War Games match, and me and Channing were medical staff together, and we had no
nice.
idea what the hell we were doing. So I still keep in touch with him, and I mean, I've told him, how happy I am for his success and everything like that. But super great guy, super cool to see him in a video game, super cool to see
Yeah,
him, with all this spotlight, super cool to see him with like NXT Gold, like he's really worked himself. And I'm not sure if y'all know that, but he was also like the Tostinos kid from like way back in the day, like when they did like a Tostinos or like
okay,
it was either Hot Pockets or Tostinos, like it was like a contest. And
interesting.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah, he won that. So you'll have to look back at that.
okay,
But yeah, no, just watching these guys, like it's super entertaining with like the D'Angelo family and everything like that. And then with the new addition, it's they can kind of go anywhere. I was watching last night, and I think I turned my head for 1 minute. One moment they were at dinner, And the
Yeah.
next I looked and they were, you know, kidnapping Dragunov. Next thing I know, they're shutting a trunk, and I was like,
Yeah.
"What is going on here?" But hey,
Yeah, they went back to the bridge where I forget what his name was in NXT, but or wait, no, it was Troy Donovan. And then when he was released from WWE and went over to NXT or AEW, he's now Cole Carter. They wrote him off of NXT TV by throwing him over that same bridge that they took Ilya to. So
they killed a
D'Angelo's,
man.
yeah, it's
What the
I mean,
heck?
it's no different than what was it, Money in the Bank 2020, where it was either Rey Mysterio or Baron
Oh,
Corbin
when Rey
got thrown
Mysterio
off
got
of.
thrown off
Yeah,
the building.
yeah. So it's fine. Joe Gacy, they made it look like he unalived himself a few weeks ago. Like it's a whole thing.
Oh my, yeah. I haven't seen this stuff. What is going on?
Yeah. So Joe Gacy, once Grizzled Young Vets returned to the Indies, Ava ended up in the general manager role. Gacy kind of, I don't know, he basically snapped. Started taking a video camera everywhere. He was, hiding under the ring. He was doing commentary in the old school WWE Blazers and yelling, "What a maneuver!" a couple of times. But they also showed him at the top of the performance center, and they tossed his handheld camera off the building to make it look like he had, jumped, and it was a whole thing. But anyway, you gotta check out the Asylum match with him and Dijak from
I
last
did
week. It was
see
awesome.
that.
Yeah,
I did see that. I like that moonsault was amazing.
yeah, dude. That's one of those guys that I hope that he doesn't get lost in the shovel because he is so good. I mean, any character work that you want him to do, he can clearly do.
Right.
I mean, it takes a lot to do that psychotic, frenetic, just ball of energy thing, and he just has it down like that.
So what's the wine that you're drinking today?
This is 19 Crimes with Uncle Snoop on the bottle.
Dang.
Why not? It's been a long week already, and it's only Thursday, so
I feel that. I feel that.
it's just it's fine. It is what it is.
It's
But
crazy that we're getting Okada.
yeah, so let me get your thoughts on that. How do you feel about Okada making the jump to AEW full time?
It was I like it. I mean, being here we go, showing my rank here. Being backstage last week when he debuted, nobody knew that he was backstage.
Oh shit, really?
Like none of the wrestlers. They kept it pretty secret, which was kind of cool because I mean we were like in the talent viewing area whenever
Yeah.
they aired it and everything, and he came out and like the locker room popped. Like they were like, "What the fuck?"
Damn.
Like they were all
Okay.
in shock. So that was kind of pretty cool to see that like even the boys are getting worked type deal.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll tell you a story off air of how it
Okay.
got spoiled for me, but
Okay.
don't want to
Yeah.
whoever wrote on us before to expose that. So
Yeah, no,
but just know,
here. Got you.
I knew ahead of time that it was happening by accident. So, but yeah, I mean it's a cool big signing. A lot of big signings here lately for AEW. So Okada, we got Monet. You know,
Yeah.
it's starting to shape
Ospreay
up. I
is
mean,
just yeah.
Osprey. And it's one of those things. It's like, are they getting ahead of themselves because their crowds are down, or are they trying to get it to where they're bringing in bigger names to build that crowd back up? I'm not
Yeah.
one to dish it because on Busted Open one time, Bully was talking about if you're not filling up hard cam, that's not a bad day. As long as you've
Yeah.
got an audience that is filling up the hard cam side that you're seeing,
Yeah.
that's great. If you're filling up the side where the actual camera is at, then your business is booming. But if you're not filling up that entire side, it's okay. That's not what that side's meant for,
Yeah.
So there's different ways of the business to look at, crowd participation and things like that. And I think people get so caught up with they don't have anybody on hard cam side. And it's like, that's not like, what?
Yeah.
These guys are literally signing these big money contracts. Like they're not worried about filling that up, apparently.
Exactly. I mean, and especially because the people that do complain about it don't work in the wrestling industry. Their livelihood is not dependent on what that looks like. We went to, I think this was last October that we went to Dynamite, and it was Jade's last match with the company. her TBS title rematch with Chris Statlander, and they did the 2-hour Dynamite Rampage taping after that. I mean, it wasn't a great crowd, and we pointed that out on our podcast. It was it was a little thin than compared to the last time that we had gone to AEW, but after we had made that observation, we moved on. I mean, it's not our business
Right.
to care about, okay, what's the attendance doing for them. We still had a great time. Do I get more tired than I used to going to 3-hour wrestling TV tapings? Like, sure, but that's really about it. I mean, the people that criticize it have no stake in what happens if there is a good crowd or a bad crowd. Like, even with some of Copeland's early AEW dates, it was just like, okay, yeah, the crowd's a little thin, but he's still making millions of dollars to go do what he wanted to do creatively that he was not going to get to do in WWE. So
Right.
the trade-off to him, that's a cost benefit analysis that he did. But most fans that have those thoughts on attendance don't have any skin in the game.
Right. And that's just it, is like all of these trolls online. I mean, back whenever I got hassled about overselling the DDT from Jake the Snake, like
Which was great.
half of those guys were like had no profile picture. Half of them, their profile picture wasn't even them. And it's like, okay, if you were to have taken a DDT from Jake the Snake, first off, it would probably look like crap,
Yeah.
because you wouldn't know how to properly land. Second of all, I don't have to tell you why I was doing what I was doing, but it's opinionated. I mean, that's what this whole thing is. That's what makes it fun. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Okada?
So I absolutely love the idea of him coming in, turning heel. I'm all on board with Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, this iteration of the Bucks right now. A lot of it stems from the last couple of years. They've not gotten the best shake in the world as EVPs because of everything that's gone on with CM Punk, Jack Perry, all of the fallout that has come with those major incidents as a result of Punk being with the company. And then when we hear that, I think it's Matt Jackson's wife, Dana, who doesn't come back to the company and doesn't
Matthew
resign.
Jackson.
You're absolutely right. Sorry about that, Matthew. Sorry, Nicholas. Anyway, yeah. So when she says, well, or at least kind of hearing from the rumor mill that they didn't feel like the company stood up for them during those situations, and they didn't really get to tell their side of what happened. And by all accounts, it doesn't seem like they ever will because their NDA's out the wazoo over that entire incident. That whatever you can take of that real life incident and turn it into art, do it. I mean, the confetti cannons with their business cards, brilliant. The fact that they took out the white suits and tried to spoil Sting's debut, brilliant. New theme song, like it reminds me of the Succession theme song. Like they're going all in on this gimmick.
The excessive pyro last week was phenomenal.
Yes.
Like I was watching
I
was watching them in rehearsals do that, and it was like they're having fun with it, and I think that's what makes it great. Because like literally when they were talking about, okay, we want to do the excessive pyro, and they were like, whenever they were doing their Young Bucks pose, and he's just like, come on, more pyro. Like you could tell they were just having fun with it. So I think that's what also makes it enjoyable to watch, is the fact that they're just guys out there living their dream.
Yep.
And you can't ask for more than that. Like that's why we all watch as fans, to be honest, because whether you're a hardcore fan or not, when you see wrestling, you think, damn, that's pretty cool. Like that'd be fun to do. And these guys are out here doing it. So they're not worried about anything else other than just having fun and making money.
Yeah. So basically it boils down to fans, don't be assholes.
Right. And just, if you are,
I'll say it. I don't care.
I won't even say that. Never mind.
It's all right. Save it for off camera. Yeah, right. I want to hear it. Yeah, but before we wrap up here, I think kind of the big story coming out of NXT, Trick Williams has returned. Basically wants to get his hands on Carmelo Hayes. This is the biggest story they've got going. This is, it's got that Triple H Shawn Michaels feel. It's got that Sami and KO feel. It's got that Ciampa Gargano feel. Metaphor comes out, tries to spoil the party. Trick takes out Metaphor, but seems like he's spitting a little game to Last Legend and Plans One Honor. This was a interesting twist to this story. How do you feel about this love story coming out?
He locked lips with Lash.
How badly you been wanting to say that today?
Hey, just came to me, to be honest. But
I
no,
love it.
it's I was thinking about it actually earlier, how it's so cool to watch a guy who was supposed to be manager material, a secondhand player, become the biggest star of NXT.
Yeah,
Trick Williams literally went from being Carmelo's lackey to being bigger than the NXT
yeah.
championship, in my
Organically
opinion.
too. Yeah,
Right. And it all happened organically, but the thing is it happened organically and it happened quick,
yeah,
which is phenomenal. That just
yeah,
shows you that he's over and he's a future main roster, you know, participant, in my opinion. I hope they don't
yeah,
do it, now, just because they need to ride this wave in NXT and let him really get his reps in with the crowd really wanting him on the main roster and then push him. But yeah, it's I love the fact of how they, you know, they kind of had the NXT championship in the picture with Mello and Trick, and they
hmm
luckily like slowly moved it away from them with that match last week with Trick coming
yeah,
back. Now here it is again. And then yeah, I'm excited for Stand and Deliver for Trick and Mello, because both of them athletic as hell. Both of them can go. Both of them know how to work the crowd. Both of them know how to do their thing, and
yeah,
that's exciting to see because it's their chemistry is going to be amazing. So the match is just going to flow very well. The match is going to be A1. So it's like
yeah.
I'm excited for that. Like you said, I mean, it's got that Triple H and Shawn vibe to it because it's like two friends. You never thought they betray each other. Here we
Yep.
are.
Yeah, and it's one of those feuds where this definitely won't be a one-on-one match that we get from them, or at least, I mean, it'll be one-on-one, but like not your standard traditional wrestling match. There's got
Right.
to be some stipulation where the violence gets upped a little bit, and this is something that Mello is likely SmackDown bound after Stand and Deliver.
Hmm.
That whenever Trick is ready, you can continue this up there, and I don't think that anybody would have a problem with it. Which is something else I would like to see them do a little bit more of is great NXT rivalries. Just continuing them on the main roster. You can start it on one
Yeah.
show and end it on another.
But see, in WWE's mind is like their main roster fans have no recollection of what's going on NXT. I
Yeah,
feel like, I mean, there's certain cases, yeah, like with the way that they're building Braun Breaker, cool, but I just think they avoid trying to intertwine NXT stories with main roster stories for good reason. I mean,
yeah,
it's two different worlds, but um, I'm just curious to see if Lash is a ploy for Mello, or are they
yeah.
going to do it to where, okay, Trick's got the girl, now Mello's going to try to steal her,
Oh
type
yeah,
deal.
yeah.
Then they
And,
put
and
Lash in a shark cage and they fight over her or something, like.
actually, I do want to talk about Lash Legend for a second, just because this time, probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, I was not a Lash Legend fan,
Mhm.
and she was still very green, when they first put her on TV. But, and I've said this on our show a bunch of times, they're not going to put you with a group like Metaphor without you learning how to work. Like, you're going to get your
Right.
reps in being with a guy like Noam Dar, and she's, I mean, leveled up tremendously over the last few months here. That, like, when you think about Jade Cargill coming in, when you think about Bianca Belair coming in, Lash Legend, if not 2025 or Royal Rumble, definitely 2026. Like, she's going to be one of those names that's like, all right, we can't deny how good she is. The strength, the power, the look, all of that is there. She's already had the charisma. We knew that she could talk. Like, she's putting it all together very nicely.
Yeah, and I mean the thing is like you mentioned like Jade Cargill and Bianca, and I mean both of those have, I wouldn't say done their time because Jade is still fairly green.
Yeah,
So, but she's put in the reps and everything, especially with AEW and things like that.
yeah,
With Lash, at least she is still in this developmental territory. So not only is she getting to learn from guys like Noam Dar being put with them, but she's also able to get that weekly training at the performance center and things like that and get better
true.
versus being shoved out on the road where you're kind of forced to sink or swim. At least they're able to kind of construct and build on what they're wanting for their next TV show.
Yeah.
Because from what I hear, it's almost like they practice their matches all week to
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
sure that they're pretty good for the NXT. So that is definitely going to play in her favor as long as she takes and learns from what she's not necessarily doing wrong, but like the constructive criticism that she was receiving.
Yeah.
But like I mean that I would take that as a benefit, like not being on the road as much, being able to learn weekly and be on national television is crazy to think about. But also it's like you're still with Noam Dar and things like that. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're in a group with them, but you're not being forced out on the road like you would if you were on the main roster.
Yeah.
Like Maxine Dupree, for instance. I mean,
Yep.
I know she did her little stint in NXT and things, but she was
It
shot to
wasn't
the main
long.
roster, to go with LA Knight and or Max Dupree at that
Yeah.
time.
Dupree. Yeah.
Right. But I didn't want my voice to crack. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's like now they're playing off of that for Maxine Dupree, like because she was getting booed at house shows and things like that, and so now they're playing that to her credit, making a storyline out of it. But for Lash Legend, like you said, I mean, she's tenfolds better than she was about a year ago,
Yeah.
and that's all credit to being put with the right people, and it just shows that she listens. So that's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's in the online vitriol that was spit just over a crummy house show appearance. Where, I mean, that's the point of those shows. They're not TV, so there's the freedom to work in a different manner. There's the freedom to try things, to make mistakes, get messy. It is what it
Right.
is. And that was a subject that people were very divided on. But I give kudos to WWE because as of late they have taken stories like this and like Liv Morgan and used them to their benefit and created art out of real life. So hats off to them.
Right.
Yeah. Anything else on the last few days of wrestling, my friend?
I wouldn't say last few days of wrestling. It actually happened today, but the On the Mark Wrestling podcast wants to talk about someone, I guess, that they back,
Yeah.
a Trevor Outlaw.
That's correct.
I mean, if you think you could take me. I beat the indie god, so
Yeah.
I'm not scared to beat one of your Patreons or whatever they do. I don't know how much they pay you to put them over on social media, but hey, if you want
It's
to make it happen, I can buy a plane ticket. I can be in your city. I can take my frat
And
paddle,
that one.
whatever. So
Yeah,
we'll
it's
just state that.
surprised the hell out of me, I gotta say. I mean, all I did was list off a very accurate resume and all the gold that you've held.
Well,
And like I said, it was just the last month that I even talked about there.
right. Well,
So
that's the
yeah,
problem. Is you start listing accolades, you start listing progress. You like you said, this has been in the last month. Is what you listed on Twitter or excuse me X, and guys are already shoving people down our throats, trying to let's get our guy with this guy so he looks like a star that he. But hey, that's what I'm here to do, and then I'll show exactly why I'm the star and your guy
okay.
is where he's at.
All right. I like it. I like it. Anyway, before we wrap up this episode tonight, thank you guys so much that are watching out there. Remember to like, share, subscribe. If you know one person that would enjoy this show, send it to them. Let them decide for themselves. I mean, I'd like to think that we're, not the worst people on the IWC. So, let them decide for themselves. Bryce, before we let you go, what you got coming up this weekend or next couple of weeks, and where can people find you on social media?
This weekend is R&R for the Frat Daddy.
All right.
No
Good for
shows.
you.
I've been hitting the ground running this year, so it's some much needed time off, but just for one weekend only. Don't think
All right.
I'm taking it easy. Just 1 week. Still gonna hit the gym. Still gonna hit the tanning bed. Still gonna get that haircut. Next week is a pretty exciting. I'm not able to talk about it, but you will find out shortly what I am talking about. Got some big things coming up. So yeah, and then next Saturday we got Disruptor Wrestling here in Upper Atlanta, Georgia. I don't even know where it's at. It starts with a B and it's escaping me. But we've got Exotic Youth versus the Varos Twins. Now, I'm not sure if you're
Okay.
familiar with the Varos twins, but apparently they're like TikTok and Instagram influencers. They've got over
Yeah.
600,000 like followers on Instagram and things like that. They call them like the Da Vinci twins or something like that. They're pretty annoying.
Okay.
Uh, they get on my damn nerve. I followed them just because I was like, oh, cool, we got cool opponents from Canada, and then I unfollowed them immediately after I saw their content. So look forward to beating the life out of them, and hopefully they won't post anything else on social media after we're done with them. So we've got that coming up, and then yeah, Coastal Empire Wrestling on the 30th, Southern Honor on the 29th if we decide to show up or not. I mean, we are your tag champions, so we can do whatever the hell we want.
There you go.
Yeah, so hitting the ground running next weekend after this weekend off.
So I mean, I mean, other than your normal gym tan laundry, what does a weekend off look like for the Frat Daddy?
A lot of cuddles with the Frenchies. We got two now. So Legend has
That's
a friend. So cuddles with the Frenchies outside. Maybe hit up a bar or two.
there
Maybe
you
some
go.
brunch. Little St.
Yeah, I like
Patty's
it.
festivities.
Christ, that's right. I forgot about St. Patty's.
So
All
yeah,
right. Yeah,
it'll be
I'm
a good
worried.
one.
Hell yeah. I like it. I like it. Well, Bryce, thank you for filling in as co-host last minute. I appreciate
Was
it.
I
Since
better than the podcast, Dad?
I appreciate you showing up, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Can you answer my question?
You're gonna get me in trouble, dude.
Was I or was I not better than the podcast father, dad, whatever he
Well,
calls
I,
himself?
I, I think that the podcast dad slash father slash poppy slash pater slash
The podcast
uh
chooch.
you said that, not me. You said that, not me.
I just need to know your answer.
Yes, I mean
Thank
are
you.
so,
You guys
yes,
have a
okay.
great night. The answer has been given.
Good to see you, my friend, as always. Thank you guys so much for enjoying this episode of the Wrestling Junkies podcast. We will be back tomorrow night at 6:30. 3 new interviews dropping this week,
Dang.
as well as Classic City Wrestling will be joining us for our live show tomorrow at 6:30. Can't wait for you guys to check
You better
that
have him
out.
put me over. I may have to jump in on that while I'm doing cardio.
Hey, you know where to find us.
Hey, I've done it before. I'm not afraid to do
You
it
have.
again.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. Check us out. Remember to support Main Event Network, main event _net. Thank you guys so much, and we'll talk to you soon.